Hi, and welcome to another Seeking Asylum review here at Terribly Fun Films. As always, I'm your host Bobby, and today we're looking at the brand new, got released today to DVD and on streaming services, video on demand type stuff, horror film Ghosthunters. This is not the Asylum's first straight up horror film, not even their first straight up horror movie that involves ghosts. So, is this film able to distinguish itself and make it memorable, or is it just another straight to DVD horror film? Join me as we find out. In part because of how new this movie is, and in part because I only spoil things when I absolutely have to on this show, I'm going to keep my plot synopsis and plot details short and kind of vague. The prologue sees Martha, played by Phyllis Spielman, and Gabby, played by Anna Haar, killed by the notorious serial killer, the Night Stalker. These two people are Henry, played by Stephen Manley's wife and daughter respectively. Even before all this happened, he and his crew were working on a machine that could collect and trap spiritual energy, convert it into ectoplasm, and then be decoded and genetically tested to prove that there's an afterlife. They break back into the crime scene, aka his house, to get their machine, and being the sort of movie this is, of course, ghosts are real and things don't go so well. That is all I'm going to say on the plot. Cast has Henry, as played by Stephen Manley. Gabby is played by Anna Haar. Martha is played by Phyllis Spielman. It also has Devin, played by Webb Crystal. Jessica, played by Les Finning. Stanley, played by Aaron Morris. Neil, played by Devin O'Donnell. And Amy, played by Francesca Stentora. That's it, aside from a few off-screen voices that you hear and a few people at the funeral for the wife and daughter in the very beginning of the movie. That's your entire cast. It's very small. And the movie needs that. The movie shouldn't try to be any bigger than it is, and it doesn't. Happily, everyone does a really good job. Webb Crystal as Devon especially makes a strong impression as somebody who does believe in ghosts and believes in the occult rituals and that sort of stuff. But once things get too crazy, she believes that her friends and her cohorts don't know what they're doing or don't respect what they're doing and tries to leave it. That turn feels very genuine and real. As Jessica Liz Finning is very good. She's the kind of tech guru of the group, and she sounds believable when she's talking about that sort of thing, and she does get a lot of the mileage out of the science that they're using in this movie. I don't know anything about paranormal sciences. I don't watch Ghosthunters, the TV show. I don't watch anything like that. I don't know if the science they're using is considered sound or if they're making it up on the spot, but it sounds believable, and the tech stuff that she's saying makes a lot of sense in context, and she's believable as it. Anna Haar as the young Gabby doesn't get a whole lot to do. She's a ghost for most of the film, obviously, but she sells it well, and there's a turn in the movie I don't want to reveal that makes her character a little bit more interesting than would be otherwise. Martha, played by Phyllis Spielman, same thing. She does really good in her very few scenes in the beginning, but she literally can't do anything beyond that. David O'Donnell as Neil is very strong, very interesting, and I think he brings a lot of emotional weight to the movie because the character of Amy's his girlfriend, and I think they play off of each other nicely. For her part, Francesca Santoro plays a sort of freelance reporter who is allowed to come in because she'll do a nice, non-sort of pedantic story on them. The movie sort of becomes about her choosing whether or not to believe that ghosts are real and believe in the supernatural. And that's all I'll say about it without spoiling anything. And she plays that really well, especially at the end. She has this amazing scene at the end, and she's great. She brings a lot of healthy skepticism and then a lot of, oh my god, what's happening, to the role. And she's believable as not the final girl. The movie doesn't quite go entirely that route. Not to say she's killed, but I think calling her that does a disservice to the way the character is written and what the movie's about. However, I do think it's Stephen Manley, who is probably most known for playing a young Spock in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, that steals the show. His Henry is an obsessive, grieving widower. And you understand why. Again, we see the killings in the beginning. The movie starts off with the killings, so it starts off very intensely. And as the danger in the house and the spirits and the ghosts get more angry at what they're doing into the house with the machine, I think he plays it really well. His reason for not leaving is to get the spirits and the ghosts of his family members into the ectoplasm form and see if he can try to resurrect them or communicate with them. And you believe that reason. That's a really good reason for him to not want to leave. And because everybody but Amy has worked with him before, and they're all this group of ghost hunters, where the title comes from, the chemistry between everybody in the group is great. They all play off of each other nicely, and they feel like they've worked together. They feel like they know each other. And that really sells why they're loyal to him and why they are also still there. Devin's only worked with them once or twice. That's why she kind of leaves him. Amy is the audience surrogate. All the stuff's explained to Amy so she understands what's happening there. The actors all feel very natural together, and credit should go to the casting director, Scotty Mullen, who is a screenwriter and director in his own right. You've heard me discuss his movies before, for being able to get a group of people that feel so natural together. It should be noted that Anna Hartz actually worked with Pearry Teo on his most recent other film, being The Curse of Sleeping Beauty. She played the young Briar Rose in that movie, which is really interesting to find out. So I like how this incorporates people he's worked with before and incorporates Asylum regulars as well. And it's a great culmination of director and studio coming together to showcase what they both do best. It was written and directed by Pearry Teo. I really hope I'm saying your name right. Who is from Singapore, by the way, and he's the first director from there to go on to make movies in Hollywood. How interesting is that? There's a really cool interview with him you can find on YouTube. He's a really smart, very intelligent person, and I highly recommend listening to it, wherein he's talking about the state of Singapore, how their culture differs, and what he saw when he left for the military and stuff. And he's clear he loves movies. It's clear he loves horror, and I think this is his best film to date. And he's a director whose work, aside from his short films, I happen to have seen every single one of his movies. The costumes were done by Sarah Sharp. His earliest feature-length film was The Gene Generation, also known as Killer's Creed, and that stars by Lang, and that movie is really goofy and kind of stupid and has been on my review list for terribly fun films for a while. Necromancia a few years ago, which is this intense, creepy, sort of torture porny movie. It's really messed up. He also did the Sci-Fi Channel Witchville, which I really enjoyed. He did this really cool take on Dracula 3 or 4 years ago now. And then just this year, and a few weeks ago, I happened to watch The Curse of Sleeping Beauty, which is incredible. Does he translate well into the Asylum aesthetic? The answer is yes. Yes, he does. Very much so. I love to see that sort of thing. I love to see the filmmaker has a driving passion. I love to see when they team up with a studio that totally understands what they're doing. And that's the case here. Who also did the costumes for the Asylum's Dead 7 and for their upcoming movie #Follow Friday. And the costumes here are amazing. Night Stalker's outfit a little bit. It has this black rimmed hat, big goggles as part of this weird gas mask like thing. It has this beak, it has this coppery metallic color. It's this long dark trench coat, buttoned up proper shirt. It's just a creepy thing to look at by itself, much less see in action and have it be a real bad guy for the film. Again, the Night Stalker stuff happens in the beginning of the movie, how the wife and child die. We get visions of him throughout, so it's a little, to call it the Night Stalker a antagonist, I don't know is entirely accurate. But it looks creepy as hell. The other costumes, fairly modern day, jeans, shirt, that kind of stuff. But all the characters look natural in their clothing. All the actors move well in them. Nothing seems to be restrictive, and everything fits the mood of the film. The costumes are really engaging, despite just being modern jeans and t-shirt stuff. I'm glad the costume designer, again, Sarah Sharp, was able to bring a personality and a sense of fun and a sense of individuality to each character just through the costumes. There's amazing lighting and amazing cinematography, courtesy of Spencer Hutchins, and the film looks incredible. There's an early scene where they first break into the house to, again, retrieve their machine, where there's this giant archway over the stairs going up, and the camera's kind of far away from them on one side, and they're shining their flashlights up through the stairs, and it's just very foreboding and creepy. Then we cut to the top of the stairs, looking down on them in a sort of mirrored shot of the same thing, just from the higher angle, being at the top of the stairs. It's amazing. It's really good to look at. And happily, in a horror movie like this, it's a very sort of gothic horror film. The visuals are really what make it creepy. It's not the boogeyman, it's not how the people are killed, it's the atmosphere. And the atmosphere in this movie is amazing. It's very dread-filled. It's very eerie. The whole movie has just a macabre atmosphere to it for its entire runtime. And that makes all of the horror elements work really well and really entertainingly. From a writing standpoint, things aren't quite as smooth as they are for a directing standpoint, because even with a small group of characters who have mostly worked together, we do get a lot of exposition out of the way early on. We have the prologue, we have a 1-minute funeral scene, we break into the house, and that involves Amy asking a lot of questions other characters already have answers to. That is how the audience finds out a lot about the equipment and how it works, and there are these really cool goggles that I don't know who designed. I can't find that information online at the moment. Again, the movie's really new, so not everything's up about it. That allow you to see spiritual energy, and I love the use of these in this movie. They're really cool looking. The movie has an interesting steampunk bent to it in terms of the set and art design. not really the plot, but the way the machine that gets the ectoplasm looks, the goggles, the Night Stalker costume with this crazy like gas mask beak thing. Fantastic, really interesting stuff there. Sadly, IMDb does not list who the set director and decorators and the art designers were, so I cannot give them credit. Whoever you guys were, amazing. Amazing job. Of course, the visual effects were supervised by Jay Lawson, and the compositor this time was Tammy Klein. And they're very subtle effects, just some silhouettes here, ghostly images there. Not used for the whole movie, but they're used really well. Again, the lighting, the cinematography in this dark, boarded up crime scene house plays a lot into it. So they do very subtle things to manipulate that. And the only really usage shot we're seeing through the goggles, which only happens a few times. It's a really cool effect though. And they're playing around with lights. There's this amazing sequence. It's probably my favorite one in terms of scares. The movie is scary and creepy, where the lights aren't working. They're trying to get them to, but every time they turn them on, all the lights go on, all the lights go off. When they turn them off, everything's on one line. And we see this flicker of shadow getting just closer and closer every time. And it's really scary because they don't see it. They're trying to mess with the lights, trying to get just one room. That's all they can explore. They don't want to mess with anything else. It's so refreshing to see a horror movie of any kind, be it a big budget horror film like The Conjuring 2, or a low budget horror movie like this, that really knows that atmosphere and a sense of dread, a sense that our characters are in danger is where scares come from. And the director has proven time and time again throughout his films that he understands that. And this movie plays that strength really well. You do think that these characters could die, and not saying they do or don't. Of course, it's a horror movie, so at least one person does, but you get the idea. Again, I don't want to spoil much. And you get the sense that what they're doing really is upsetting the spiritual world, and that why Henry's so obsessed with it makes total sense. All these characters are really well fleshed out. The editing in the film is also really good. Once again, adding to that sense of dread and that creepiness. Editing in the film is really good, adding to that sense of danger, that creepy atmosphere that permeates every scene. And there's only a few times where it gets sort of crazy edits that have, for a while, was a trend in a lot of horror films. It's just fast editing that makes you scared. When those do happen, it's after ghost encounters. And the ghosts either touch people or they give them visions, and it actually makes sense in that regard. The people receiving these things are only getting bits and pieces of information. It's scattered. It doesn't totally work. And thankfully, I think they use that really well. A lot of the film doesn't deal with that. A lot of the film is very tight, controlled editing. So we're looking in a very specific place. The movie needs you to focus on. So if the camera's focusing on me and something's happening over here, you know, just off in the background, and then we cut to a loud noise or, you know, something elsewhere, and we cut back and that thing's gone, that's a little eerie, kind of creepy. And the movie does that often. Not that it uses too many jump scares or lots of loud noises. It uses a lot of ghostly pranks, for lack of a better term. Where there's a sequence where Devon and Henry are exploring the kitchen, and she's at a windowsill, and what she has next to her, a thing of salt, just starts slowly rolling away. And that's what I mean when I say ghostly prank. The music helps immeasurably here. The music is done by composer Scott Glasgow, who did not only other Pearry Teo films, for him. Gene Generation, Curse of Sleeping Beauty. But he's also the composer for Low. Low is this ridiculously incredible, fantastic demon romance movie that you need to see. I will probably review it one day because it's so fantastic. It's so weird and unlike anything I've ever seen. It's amazing. He did the score for that, and that film is great. And so I'm really happy to report that he has another great score. The music never overpowers the scares. It never gets too loud. It never takes over the scene. It only ever helps. And more importantly, the score gives scenes room to breathe. It's not a constant thing, as I've seen in some horror films. You want quiet in your horror movies, guys. You want to sit down and hear nothing and be freaked out by it. You constantly have a score going. That doesn't happen and undercuts the reality you're trying to build. You don't do that here, and Scott Glasgow's music, when it is there, really adds to the atmosphere and really adds a sense of threat. In my last review for an Asylum film being Independence Day, I was not too keen on that film. When I talked about how we as fans who have seen the studio grow from the really cheap beginnings to shooting on more professional looking equipment to being able to do sometimes movies that are better and more engaging and much more interesting than their big budget counterparts if they are a tie-in title. That to witness something like Independence Day, which is just so generic and forgettable and does not stand out at all. This Ghosthunters is the exact opposite of that in every single way. The characters are engaging and interesting. Their story arcs and their characterizations make absolute sense to the audience. And well, yeah, it's a bit exposition heavy at the beginning. Once all that's out of the way and everything starts rolling, there's really not much more that needs to be explained in that regard. It's just filled with atmosphere and it's creepy as hell. And this is the sort of movie I expect from Asylum, where I'm going to like some of the movies more than others, to be certain, but where I feel like they are going after material, genre fare, that really encapsulates not just what they believe the fans want to see, normally they are right, but also showcases what the genre is capable of on a low budget. What can be accomplished when you have a director with a vision and you have a cast who is able to carry out that vision, and you have people who understand the genre intrinsically, so they all go for broke. Ghosthunters is that movie. Ghosthunters is creepy, scary, very well acted, amazing looking. Cannot praise the cinematography, the lighting, the editing, the art direction, and the costumes enough. They're all fantastic. They all add not just to a sense of our real lived-in world, but to the sense of creepiness and to the sense of danger that happens to permeate everything about the film. Go buy it. It's $10 at Walmart, $10 at Best Buy. Highly recommend this film. It's a really great, really intense, really interesting horror film that understands what horror fans want. There's not a lot of blood. Don't go in expecting a splatter film. This is not a slasher. This is ghosts. Ghosts being creepy, ghosts haunting houses. That's what it's about, and that's what it focuses on. Heavy atmosphere, amazing atmosphere, a really interesting bent. Pearry Teo and the Asylum have come together and created something beautiful. It is one of the best films the Asylum has released so far this year, and is my new favorite straight-up horror film from them. It's a masterpiece. And I don't just mean that it's a masterpiece for a low-budget B movie. It's all the more impressive for that, and maybe if they had a bigger budget or a few small issues they could have overcome. But it is a fantastic movie. It's a creepy, scary horror movie with such a palpable sense of dread and atmosphere that is missing in a lot of mainstream horror films. Not all, again, James Wan, Conjuring 2, he gets horror too. That I highly recommend it to gorehounds, I highly recommend it to horror heads, and I definitely recommend it to fans of the Asylum. As always, thank you for watching. I've been your host Bobby, and I'll see you next time.